know what you think about some of the undertones, some of the topics. It's always a delight to have feedback from you. Just giving you a hint into what is happening, we will be talking about anti-poverty programs. The budget recently came out, 72 trillion, and a lot of money has been channeled to poverty alleviation. Remember, the theme for this for 2024-25 is really basically improvement of life, livelihoods, as well as quality of life. So we get to see that now that it moved away from the budgeting, moved away from sector budgeting to program-based budgeting, a lot of money is being sunk into different programs with the aim of realizing the goals of the National Development Plan 3. So we'll be having a look at the anti-poverty program. Will this budget lift up the vulnerable Ugandans, of whom more than 3 million households are still doing very badly? We'll also have a look at how leaders are accountable. That is in the business update later on after 8. How are they accountable? Are they being held accountable? There's a lot of news and a lot of fracas going on right now when it comes to the parliamentarians being called to book about their role in the budgeting and all that has been happening since last week. We will have a look at what the other leaders have been saying and what they ought to be doing. Coming in Karibu regional news, we will be looking at what is happening in Kenya, a couple of meat exports happening in Tanzania, and we'll go down as well to the international scene, looking at what else is happening in there. But before that, let's dive into, let's get talking about the different programs that have been in Uganda released over time. Recently, the talk has been about PDM, over 10,954 parishes, at least roughly within that bracket, 10,954 parishes in Uganda will be receiving 100 million annually, basically to be able to be to bring the financing easier and accessible to the average Ugandan, to be able to improve, not only get productive, but also improve their household incomes, but as well as move away from subsistence to a market economy. The reality about it is that you have quite a number of concerns from different people coming in and saying, this PDM, have they learned a lesson from all the different programs that have been there, all the chaos, all the gaps, the different gaps, sorry about that, all the different gaps that have been there in Bondabagagawale program, in Tandikwa, all that, have they learned? And a lot as well is being said that sometimes there's this knot of positivity. There's a lot of positivity and expectation from PDM, but the reality is, have Ugandans learnt from the very past programs? It has also been said earlier on that a lot of ambitious programs have been released, especially in the past. I will be recapping for you. But the gaps that have been there within those programs have not been rectified. And that is what is the major cause of the worry when it comes to the parish development model. Now let's flip the coin a little bit. When we flip the coin, you get to realize that you have very many Ugandans and stakeholders saying, you know what, normally what happens, Uganda is very good at rolling out ambitious programs that actually are meant to do well, programs that will do this country justice. But what happens in the implementation? You've got corruption coming in, you've got bureaucratic systems as well in play, you've got very, very little statistics. The statistics it seems to be a problem, because just being able to track the National Development Plan 2 in itself, you've got programs that up to now do not have sufficient data, sufficient statistics to be able to capture and find out why these programs effective. So when you carry over that workload into the National Development Plan 3, it's of concern. But let's get back. Let me just recap a little bit into some of the different programs that have come up in the past. Entandiko scheme was there, of course, giving the farmers a little bit of money to be able to come up with little projects here and there. We had Bonabagagawale, let all be wealthy. That one also came up and made particular strides, but also had particular gaps as well. The National Agricultural Advisory Services, that's NADS, as well came up, of course. Did quite a lot, as well as Operation Wealth Creation. It was applauded by many, especially those that got to benefit out of it. And whereas there were a couple of loopholes here and there was quite a lot of sentiment in regards to discrimination, who were the beneficiaries, and were they affiliated to the political parties, were they affiliated were they relatives of those in the top notch. So all these were little sentiments that were coming out, plaguing those particular, especially NADS, as well as Operation Wealth Creation. When it came down to Emioga, awesome, still received quite a lot, over 100 billion going to Emioga within the 2024-25 budget, and it is still on an optimistic note that it will be able to improve the lives. But with different reports that were coming in a couple of months back, Emioga has failed to take care of the 3.5 million households in Uganda, of Ugandans that remain in the subsistence economy. Round it up, all these different programs that have been there have quite largely on scale failed to take in and do and realize the goals really that they were intended to do. But the reality about it, it's still going forward. There's been quite a lot of optimism from the finance minister, Honorable Mr. Matia Kasai, just saying that there should be a very good results, especially coming in from PDM. And then flip the coin, you have others as well saying, on what basis is this optimism? On what basis is this courage? Yes, to be able to project that URA will be able to tap into this and realize over a couple of trillions coming in, only based on PDM and the oil sector. But getting back into PDM and some of the other programs that have been coming in all across from the early 90s, we get to see that those particular structural problems have not been taken care of. Now, with 10,594 parishes in Uganda earmarked under the PDM, earmarked basically to receive their 100 million, a lot of concern has been, is it sufficient enough to be, and not only just sufficient enough, but is it going to be effectively and efficiently utilized? One, because we've had a couple of concerns trickling in with some of the beneficiaries not being able to basically get the monies that they applied for. Some have applied for 10 million and then they get 6 million. Some have applied for 5 million and they get 3 million. So where are these balances going, and who is getting them? If they are able to come down to the nitty-gritties and find out and do something about stemming all these bureaucracies, stemming the corruption that continuously comes in, especially in regards to government programs, I believe something can be done. But on a good note, there's been quite a lot of focus as well on the documentation, on ensuring that surely this time there is going to be a lot of data capture, there's going to be a lot of data collection, and this will be within a central, more or less a central system that can be tapped, so that there is information sharing in between the parishes as well as the Ministry of Local Government that is running this. So we all have our eyes really set on looking at PDM in respect to all the different programs that have been out there. Amazing, amazing program right out there that can do good to this country. But in light of all the other different poverty alleviation projects and programs that have been run, they have been suffocated by corruption, suffocated by little data collection, suffocated by the bureaucracies, and suffocated by all the ineptitudes that are within these systems. Some have argued as well that getting all these parish chiefs brought in as well is going to be in one way or another an expenditure as well. And yet the district officials who are already problem. If you have a frustration and you cannot reach out, the immediate people you are meant to reach out to, your family and friends, if you do not want to reach out to that, please reach out to professional help. Get professional help, talk to a counselor, talk to someone, but don't die with your problem. That much is still inside there. Matters Day to deepen South Africa-Uganda ties. A lot has been said about the tourism potential in having the Matters Day and the different, because this is not even just a national day, really, national celebration or observing. It goes way beyond borders. We've had Kenyans coming, Tanzanians, we've got South Africans coming on Matters Day. So it should really, really be taken as a core within tourism. Sickle cell, screen your babies. Screen your babies. Parents are advised. Sickle cell disease is a group of inherited disorders, red blood cell disorders that affect hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen through the body. The blocked blood flow through the body can lead to serious problems, including stroke, eye problems, episodes of pain called pain crisis. It's really a very painful disease for those that I have talked to. And do something, please. Screen your babies, screen yourselves, find out before you get into marriage, because your spouse could be a carrier as well as you yourself could be a carrier. So please do something about it. Successful persons to immediately access government payroll. Agency mergers, we've had concerns about the agency mergers, but over 2,000 affected staff to sit interviews next month. Relatedly, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Public Service revealed that the planned rollout of the contributory pension scheme has been deferred for next year. This has been proposed to be rolled out during the next financial year. The supporting bill has not been approved in the incoming financial year. It has not been budgeted for. Therefore, we're likely to have it during the financial year 2025-26. Under the proposed scheme, government will deduct 5% of every month from each public servant's salary as a contributory fund towards pension. And the government will then contribute 10% of one's salary to the contributory pension scheme. The current scheme, dubbed PayGo, is 100% funded by the government, and it has a separate budgetary allocation every financial year. Under the current system, pension for each retired public service servant is computed based on the length one has been on active payroll, as well as the salary at the time of retirement. Now remember, when most retire, we had a discussion a couple of weeks back, and we mentioned that when most retire, really, they do retire, but they are quite unprepared. You have a number of them being able to get in touch with the funds that they have worked with all along all these couple of years, and guess what? It dwindles quite faster than they imagined. So when it comes to pension, when it comes to retirement, a lot still needs to be done in preparation, not only just civil for the public servants, but as well for those ones in the private sector. What are you doing today to plan for your retirement in the future? You're not going to work for the next couple of years until you are not invisible. Please do something and be aware about it. So SEC imposes term limits on parliament committee positions. That was earlier on the first thing that I mentioned. So let me get just a little bit into this, how committee leaders are elected. After every session of parliament, members are allocated to sectoral committees on which they serve for one session, one parliament year, and standing committees on which they serve for a period of 2.5 years. Parliament committees are provided for under Article 91 of the Constitution and Rules of Procedure. Each committee comprises about 30 members. There are 15 sectoral committees which mainly do oversight work. This will give you a little bit of a sneak peek into why the other 3 MPs were brought to book, were arrested, and the upheaval, really, the chaos that is going on right now, ever since a couple of weeks back, about committee leaders committee members trying to bring in and trying to look for other ways of swaying the vote. All that comes down to that. 9-year-old Uganda named World Table Tennis Champion. And this is Tebati Indira displaying a trophy at Lugogo recently. That's some very good news, especially considering that on Smart Means Business we have been pushing for alternative sports, and knowing that within the last allocations of monies, a lot of sports fraternities came up and said, you know what, football is not the alpha and omega in Uganda. There are other sports that have quite a lot of potential. There's athletics, there's woodball, there's swimming, there's table tennis, and that's coming in right now with the champion. And these should also as well have a desirable cake, a worthy cake, fair cake of the sports monies. So that was brought in, and coming in and seeing this 9-year-old Ugandan named World Table Tennis Champion is some very good news. General Muhoozi hosts new Italian ambassador to Uganda. Mengo top officials meet over Kabaka's absence. UPDF hands over Babire base to Somalia Army. Chambogo ordered to pay ex-workers 2 billion. That's some money. That's some money and some hot soup for Chambogo. Clerics ask Museveni to reconcile Acholi chiefs. And then lastly, 1 million Ugandan women are sexually assaulted yearly. This is a supplement coming in, and some shocking news as well. Violence against women and girls persists as the most pervasive violation of human rights worldwide. So a lot still needs to be done about stemming GBV. Please get your new vision, and let's get to know what's happening. But diving into the Daily Monitor, government changes O-level exam grading system. Now, we have had quite a lot about what is happening, a lot of chaos, ambiguity, really. You have the parents telling you, we don't even understand what this is all about. And then you have the teachers saying, oh, we are still getting into the system because it's a little bit shaky at the moment. We have spoken to a number of teachers that will blatantly tell you clearly and say, we are waiting. We have been taken through, but the moment it started out with the different curriculum, we had issues with that. Those are different teachers telling you, but we are still being instructed on the way to go. When it comes to the parents as well, not a lot of clarity is there. They are still being taken in by the children themselves, the students that they send to school, coming down with homework and saying, now we need a smartphone. And one parent is coming up and saying, what is this all about? There is no network, there is no smartphone in this house. How do you expect my child to be able to do this homework that you have given them? That's in regards to the curriculum. But I know there's quite a lot that still needs to be ironed out. But back to the story, government changes all-level exam grading system. And it shows you how they will be marking and how the UCE results will be scored. NRM drops House Committee leaders. We mentioned that as well. Katikiro explains Kabaka's health. A lot has been said about this, but you will get yourself your daily monitor and be able to see what the Katikiro is explaining. Researchers link over 7,000 deaths in Kampala city to air pollution. Pollution, remember, harms the environment and is majorly driven by emissions from automobiles and industries and smoke. And you have areas right now in residential places whereby they're still burning the caveras, they're still burning, they're using them as collection points for plastics. There has been an outcry about this. Collection points within residential areas, collection points for plastics. And guess what? When it gets to around 10 o'clock in the night, these are within suburbs. When it gets to 10 o'clock in the night, some of these places begin to burn. So you begin to burn the plastics. Right in open air burning, and then you find out that most of these houses, different households, are filled with smoke, this terrible, terrible smoke. And we called out and said, you know what, if this is happening within your area, please get in touch, call NEMA or get onto our social media handles and let us know whether it's affecting you, because that pollution definitely is going to harm you. May not happen in the short run, but trust me, later on you're going to have respiratory problems, you're going to have much more than that. So, furthermore, why universities are stuck with over 1,600 unapproved courses. In July 2023, NCHE directed all institutions across the country to submit programs that were due for review by November 30th of the same year. This followed several institutions abroad rejecting Uganda graduates seeking further studies because their degree programs had been classified as expired on the NCHE website. This sparked a public uproar that forced NCHE to substitute the contested word expired with due for review. It then permitted the universities to admit students on programs that were due for review until November, and ordered the institutions that failed to beat the deadline to freeze admission into the programs. You remember there's a time when quite a number of courses were outed, and it brought in quite a lot of uproar, because those who were studying those particular courses were very worried and saying, am I safe? Am I safe? And those ones, of course, that had graduated far earlier and were working within the system because of courtesy of those particular courses were saying, what is happening? Should I change? Should I upgrade? What can I do? But there's still quite a lot that is going on. And the National Council of Higher Education has warned all students enrolled on programs due for review but not submitted to them would have their qualifications rendered null and void. Some worrying news coming in. Kenya scraps bread tax. Yes, 16%. The government has dropped the proposed 16% levy on bread. I think some good news coming in, considering that Kenya has been having issues with its currency. It's got quite some subsidies coming in and some help as well coming in from IMF and other different financial institutions. So I think this one as well, wherever there is a problem in the finances of a country, inevitably the citizens are affected. So if it scraps away the bread tax, that is some good news coming in. Trials in raising children with sickle cell disease. Please go screen yourself, go screen your children, find out if you are a carrier. It will help, because this disease is not a good one. And support those ones that basically also have been diagnosed. Why only 2% special needs children enroll in primary. We, of course, had the education system bring in more inclusion and say, you know what, we are going to have some of the children with special needs sit within the classrooms with other children and be able to meet those particular developmental milestones. But you find out that in most cases, there's quite a lot of impediment in regards to that, not only in regards to the resources, but you as well have lack of capacity building of the teachers to be able to handle some of the children with special needs. So this report comes out giving you a little bit of a hint into why only 2% special needs children enroll in primary. Learning materials, poor PLE performance, lack of grants, lack of the infrastructure really that is needed for these children to thrive. More people stranded after Lubigi evictions. This has been ongoing. You chase them out today, they are back tomorrow. You chase them out the next day, they are back the next day. A lot is still there. Those evicted claim to have genuinely acquired their plots of land in the wetland and want the government to compensate them. That shows you quite some gaps coming in and where the problem is. The differences all the way from the top to the bottom. Speaker meets ministers over MP Akamba's whereabouts. There's quite a lot within the Daily Monitor. Get your Daily Monitor and get a look into what is happening. But for now, let's take a short break and I'll be back with more news.